Welcome. There is a rhythm moving through your life, one that cannot be rushed, forced, or controlled. Welcome to Sacred Fertility Flow. I'm Ashley Holmes, holistic fertility coach and guide, and this is a space where you're invited to return to your body, your intuition, and your divine timing. Together, we explore what it means to become fertile in mind, body, and spirit so that you can move from striving into flow. And today, I am very honored to have Madhu Sai joining me, who I have known since 2017. And he has been very transformational in my life, and I have gratitude towards him every single day when I look at my son. So it is a privilege and an honor to have you here. And he is really just uh, very spiritual. And this podcast today, I know, will be a living transmission as you listen to it wherever you're joining us from. And he is an experienced Vedic astrologer, holistic infertility therapist with over 3 decades of work in healing and self-development. And this is drawing from the ancient science of Vedic astrology. He offers deep insight into an individual's karmic patterns, emotional tendencies, and life cycles, guiding clients toward clarity, balance, and conscious decision making. So, welcome, Madhu Sai. I'm so honored to be here with you today.
Namaste, namaste, Ashley. How are you doing?
I'm doing very well. And as they say, when the student is ready, the teacher arrives. And when I first met you, I thought I was just going to learn different forms of teaching yoga and was very blessed to experience so much more than that. So I would love for you to share, what did you observe in me when I first came to you?
Well, what I have witnessed in your journey is not just it's not just a fertility journey, but also a kind of an initiation, because seeing you move through a lot of grief, right? And challenges with your relationships and also hope and waiting and questioning. You're questioning and right and trying to understand, and then again still because you're also questioning about life and all that has happened through why this and all that conflict within. And when you came for the training and everything, right? But you continued with you persisted and continued to learn little by little, right? And coming back to the deeper call of your soul. So these journeys that especially a woman goes through with fertility is not just physical, it is not just physical. And the woman is asking everything, the body and how to take care of the body, also the faith, right? The nervous system and her own identity, and how you were struggling with your identity, right? Your relationships, and also things of unknown. There's so much of unknown. So the woman is going through a lot of thing. um and what impressed me most with that fertility struggle is mostly learning to strip away all the illusions, that life can be controlled through effort alone, right? Through your own thing. So your own effort or your own physically only doing everything on your own. So I think it brings to that, because this whole process of right from the conception and the whole process of birth itself is a very sacred one. So that is why all this questioning, she's questioning about life and asking what now, right? And what must be softened, what must be healed, because you went through a lot of healing while you're in that process of pregnancy, and lot of surrender. How much they must be, so what must be surrendered, and what must be understood, and what must be healed, all those things. In that sense, the path is little bit, though it is little bit painful sometimes, it can also be profoundly transformative, right? It can
Definitely.
transform the individual. So have seen all that phases with you in your own journey, I think. And
Definitely. There was a stage where I thought, oh, I knew what was being asked of me and I knew what I signed up for. But there was a point one day where I thought I could really just walk out the door because I didn't want to and I didn't feel like I was ready. But everything I had experienced up until then had proved positive, had
mm,
benefited me, had left me feeling more free
mm,
and better in mind, body, and spirit. And so I just had to surrender and I had to trust. But also, there was that moment of and fear of the unknown and the uncertainty because so many things had been a part of my identity for so long
right?
that it
Yeah,
was, who am I without this? And
correct.
so there was a lot of letting go, and surrender really did become my best friend.
Right, right, exactly, exactly. Yeah, so I think beautiful. It went, it not sometimes it was not pleasant, sometimes it was painful, but no, all in all, it is transformative, and discovering yourself in that process is so huge. It's so huge, and many women also, when they go through this kind of process, it transforms them. Their life changes in a very different, no, very drastic way. So constantly learning and understanding yourself and in that whole process of transformation is very, very important, I think.
Definitely. I was definitely a victim before I met you, and I definitely was a prisoner of my thoughts. I had had thoughts that looped for decades, and I didn't
Mhm,
realize there was another way of being and another way of
mhm,
thinking, and that didn't have to be what life looked like forever. And
mhm,
so that was opening up my awareness to a whole new world and a different level of consciousness. And I'm so grateful for you and, for the family that I have now. And just the perception and the shift that I have experienced has just created a positive ripple effect for everybody in my life.
mhm.
And I see it in my children and my family. And it's just beautiful to know that nothing is set in stone, and I truly believe anything is possible, and you have taught me that.
Yeah, no, it's all how you have processed it, how you learned every step of the way, and even during pregnancy you were there. And I remember during the pregnancy you were there in the training and learning and going through that. That is amazing. That is amazing. That is how one has to work through that process. And yeah, yeah. But those that healing was so important, that whole
Yeah.
healing process. Yeah, so now look at you, you're able to help more women and more, bring more transformation, and that is all a reflection, the outer manifestation of your journey, and what you're doing here for women and other people is only a manifestation of your own condition, yet your own state. So that
Yeah.
is so important. You had to go through that process for you to bring this to other women as well.
Yeah, I think what you witnessed in me, so many other people have experienced in their own way and are struggling and they're suffering and they're feeling stuck. So,
Mm.
what is happening beyond the physical body when a woman is struggling to conceive? Because a lot of us, and myself included initially, I thought I was just this physical body. I didn't realize that there was more to me.
Yeah, yeah. Well, on the physical level, definitely there is. the medical side of it, right? And that we should always look for and respond to, and explore that in a proper manner, right? With all the testings and checking and everything. So the physical level, that is important. So infertility actually for some women is a real medical condition. I have worked with some women who did IVF, and they did multiple times, and still could not hold, and it did not work, right? So yeah, on one hand there is this physical real medical condition that one has to always pursue, and they have to always respond to that and explore that proper care. The women deserve more compassionate, to be more compassionate, so that support is needed for that women. Now, beyond that physical, there is also this whole inner world that begins to open up for women, because fertility struggles can sometimes stir shame, sometimes can stir grief, right? Fear is a huge thing. A sense of urgency, that moment of feeling anxious, and why is it not happening, why is it not happening? And comparison, there's so much of comparison, disappointment, they go through so much disappointment. So there's a lot of inner things also happening, even when sometimes they feel their own body is betraying them. Why is their body betraying them, right? So there's a whole emotional impact is also there, that can be really profound. So along with the medical side of it and the physical side of it, there is this whole inner turmoil going on. So many of the women, they experience a deep sense of uncertainty, a sense of loss of all those things. Um, so um, so spiritually, it can be a great, it can be a threshold experience for women, because creation is not just biological, right? Creation, bringing the creation is also energetic, it's also emotional, it's also how karmic. And so there's so many aspects to that whole process. Sometimes the body is asking for repair. For example, I was helping a woman. Now 8 months of her nine and a half month period, 8 months she had to be on bed, because the body had to repair itself. Karmically it had to repair itself, and she was having constant this high blood pressure, and the doctor recommended constantly to stay home. But the doctor, there was also a lot of fear in her. Oh, what if this does not happen, what if this does not happen? And she was older, so it was really difficult for her to for this whole process, and the process was not easy. So body is sometimes asking to repair itself, karmically and other times. So the heart, the sense of fear and all those things that happens in the heart, and that uncertainty that you feel, the disappointments and all the feelings that you also have in the heart, they are also asking for safety. I want to feel safe and everything. So sometimes the nervous system is also plays an important role, because the nervous system is important for survival as well. So there's so many, at so many levels, the alignment has to happen before the arrival of the child. So when sometimes, for women, when conception is delayed, or something like that, it does not mean that the women has failed or something like that. It just means that there are multiple layers to her, that is being asked to be heard, to be healed, to be worked upon, and all those things. So yeah, so beyond that physical, there are so many other things, but physical also is very important. That also had to be taken care. But we have to also go beyond that, and we have to start working on all these other levels, including the karmic level, the spiritual level, the emotional levels, everything. So multiple layers are there. That is why the delay is there. That is why sometimes the failure, it feels like failure, but it is not a failure. It is just asking to be heard in other ways for
Yes.
women. Yeah.
I think so many women feel like they are doing everything right, and then they feel stuck because they are exerting all this energy and effort, but
Mm-hmm.
perhaps it's only at the physical level, and then it's not going beyond that. So
Mm-hmm.
they can be spending a lot of time and energy and effort doing all sorts of things, and yet not realizing that at the same time, all this energy, all this effort, and all this time is
Mm-hmm.
actually affecting their nervous system on a massive level
Level,
because
yes.
it's all yang energy, it's all Raja's energy, which we spoke about yesterday. And
Right.
every way that you look at it, it's all the same kind of energy, this excessive energy that is actually causing these imbalances within. And
Mm-hmm.
they're not realizing this internal state and what is happening internally inside of them because they just want to solve this problem and they
Mm-hmm.
analytically think that this is the only way to do it.
Right. Right, right. Yeah. That is all they know, right? That is all they know. So they are thinking that that is all I have to do. And sometimes women also see that they are doing their best. They are saying, I'm putting so much of effort into this, and they feel stuck. They feel stuck that things are not happening for
I
them.
know one of the metaphors that you used and I love and I still think of it to this day is the metaphor of the swamp. And it was like, Ashley, why are you in the swamp again? You're supposed to be on the exterior looking in at the swamp, but you're in the swamp again. And it's like, right, I am. That's not where I'm meant to be. And so to
Right.
learn to become an observer and a witness to your thoughts is very powerful and life-changing so that when you notice you're in there, you get yourself out of there quicker and realize
Hmm.
that actually your reality. You're not stuck there. You think you're
Correct.
stuck there.
Correct. Correct. Yeah, so that's a very, very important in fertility journey because it's a very sensitive place. So when the woman says that I am everything, I'm doing everything I can, and I'm doing everything right, and the even though they're putting a lot of effort, sincere effort also, aligning her body, her lifestyle, mindset, everything they try to align and everything, but there could be subtle tensions. One has to watch that. And so subtle things like uh, see what I am saying is that the body does not respond to what we do only. The body actually responds to the state we are in. That is
Mhm.
very important. The intention, how the mind is, the thoughts are going, what is going is very, very important. So yeah, you could be eating well and you could be meditating, you could be doing all this healing work and all those things. But if there is this a subtle pressure inside you, like for example, there could be this, am I doing this right? Am I making any mistakes? Right? Am I living and acting in a right way? So all these kind of subtle things, if I don't get this right now, something wrong will happen to me. So all this fear, the sense of urgency, that pressure, everything hits them at the same time. But one has to keep processing and work on those things to release ourselves from that bondage, from that feeling stuck and everything. So you have to that is why I'm saying there is constant listening to you. For example, in your case, while you were pregnant also there was a constant teachings that were going on. You were in the training and they were constantly, your mind was surrounded with all those kind of teachings and everything that you were processing. So that is the way. One has to really dedicate themselves. Even though they are doing everything right, sometimes one has to really watch those subtle tensions, like fear or pressure or urgency or negative thinking. So you have to look into that inner pressures and kind of release them as well.
Definitely.
Yeah,
I think we have to become conscious of what is unconsciously running the show in the background because
exactly.
oftentimes we don't realize that until, you know, you notice your body is showing symptoms of that, right? The
Mm,
symptom is getting
mm,
louder and then we pay attention, but to notice it at the beginning instead of when it's starting to get really loud. And
mm, mm,
I think that has been a big blessing for me with getting on my mat is to learn to listen to my body and to honor my body. And I only did that when I became pregnant, when we did that practice outside barefoot in the labyrinth because I was pregnant and I couldn't move at the same pace as everybody else. And I couldn't breathe the way that I used to because I had a baby taking up space.
right,
And
right.
so it really made me have to let go of my ego and the way I had done things up until that present moment and to
Look at
truly
that.
listen and honor my
Right,
body. And so
exactly.
that was a big shift for me of being present and actually listening.
That's very, very important. You have to flow. You have to flow with what is there in the present moment. And the
Hmm.
mind sometimes can really pull you into that. It won't. That is the effort. That is the kind of control we try to get into, and that doesn't work.
Hmm. So,
Mhm.
what is the difference, in your opinion, between striving and being in a state of flow? Seeing as this is Sacred Fertility Flow podcast, what is that difference in your opinion?
Um, Striving and flowing. See, striving comes from a place of sense of missing something, sense of missing out, sense of lack, right? For example, it carries this, the striving always carries a sense of urgency, a sense of comparison, trying to control. That's what I'm saying, trying to control it, and mostly the fear that something is missing. I must fix this. So those kind of things. So even though it looks like healthy on the surface, it looks disciplined. No, 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 I'm really taking care of myself. But yes, you're taking care of yourself, but that whole care is driven by tension. That
Mhm.
whole care is there is no flow, because in the flow, you come from a place of trust. So the place of trust is so important in the flow. And then action still happens. Care is still there. Decisions are still taken, but there is no struggle inside. So in
Mhm.
striving, there's lot of effort, lot of control, lot of tension, and the fear of missing, and then you manifest all that in your life. You manifest all that in your whole pregnancy. But when you're flowing, when you're not trying to control anything, when you're flowing with things, then automatically the care is happening. And you may be like I was telling, this lady was 8 months on the bed, and she was so difficult. It was so difficult. I had to go there every often to guide her, and we were doing meditations, and I was helping with all those kind of things. Still, she was caring for herself. She was taking care of herself. All those things, but there was no inner struggle. Every time the fear comes, we worked through it, and she was able to release that fear. Every time that issue, that uncertainty came, because the doctors were constantly telling that we don't know if this will happen, because you're having high blood pressure, you cannot move, and we don't know what will happen to this baby. So there is a lot of fear also, that this is going to fail, and that was causing her fear. So we had to work through it and release that fear, and bring that softness inside her, and say, no, doesn't matter what happens, let us respond to whatever is going on right now. So we are not running away or pushing that reality, against that reality, but we were flowing with it. We were not trying to stop the fear, stop all this happening, that happening, that whole sense of urgency, everything that was coming. We were not stopping it. We were not going against it. We were saying, okay, that is what is happening. Let us move through it. Let us flow with it. Let us work through it. Whereas in striving, they say, okay, I must make this happen. I must make that happen, and that will cause even more tension. So in flowing, what is happening is you're meeting with life where it is in the
Yeah.
moment, fully allowing what is happening, unfolding, no? And that is how it was with her unfolding. 8 months with her was that slowly unfolding in the moment, in the moment, in the moment. And that is where the shift, because fertility itself is very profound. It's going to bring a tremendous amount of shift in that individual. So because if you see the creation itself, everything in creation itself is not force. It will not. It's not done with any force. It's an
No.
act. It's an act of no receive what do you call receptivity. So everything
Yes.
is being receptive, right? In life, for example, a plant is coming from a seed. The plant is growing from the tree. The flower is blooming. Everything is flowing naturally. The creation itself is blossoming not with any force, but everything is receptive to nature, and then it flows. Now the birthing also must happen like that. If you're
Yes.
striving and if you're controlling and if you're trying to run towards it, then you'll be suffering through that. And that suffering will again come back into the child,
Hmm.
as we know, because the child is absorbing everything that is happening. So,
Yes.
yeah, so that state of flowing is very important.
I think the biggest concept, if women listening could grasp, is that the more resistant you are to your present reality, that you're not pregnant, this isn't happening on your timeline, and all of those things, if you can learn to accept where
Hmm.
you are right now and release the resistance that you're not pregnant yet, and I want to put that word in there,
Hmm.
that your fertility journey is going to end up being a lot more smoother because you have released that resistance within you and you can just meet life one day, one step at a time where you
Correct.
are and take things one step at a time because there can also be so much anxiety about the future and when and
Correct.
wanting to have, that certainty that isn't there.
Yeah, because this is a lot of pressure, that is, lot of pressure they will feel. And that is why the support of family, friends is so important during that period.
Yes. So, what do you think is truly blocking women from receiving? Why is this such a high statistic that 1 in 6 are struggling with fertility issues? What is blocking them?
What is blocking from them to receive is, see, receiving is one of the most, I would say, misunderstood aspects in of the feminine energy, because many women are highly capable of giving. Many
Mm-hmm.
women I have seen in my life, I have seen in my families, they are always in this mode of giving.
Mm-hmm.
But because they put lot of effort, they do lot of give lot of care, they give lot of attention, they give lot of love. But receiving is little different, because it's easy for women to give. I'll give
Mm-hmm.
my time, I'll give my effort, I'll give my care, I'll give my attention, I'll give everything that I have, I'll give it to you. But this process of receiving is very different. You need to be more open without being defensive. So, for example, there is this fear of disappointments, right? Fear
Mm-hmm.
of disappointment is there. Now, when that fear of disappointment is there, we fight with it. We
Yeah.
struggle with it. We try to not feel that disappointment. No. So you have to receive that disappointment, that feeling of disappointment, not engage with it, but just no, receive it and then allow it to pass, allow it to go. So you have to soften that process. So, for example, grief also, right? Even the nervous system that is always in the survival mode. So the body body must learn to soften. We must The women must learn to soften, because it is painful process. The process also is not a the thing is it's a painful process, so you have to understand. So because of that painful process, they will be very in a very alert mode to protect themselves and defend themselves, and they try to control, and because they're going through a lot of discomfort in that whole process. So that is why softening the body, softening to know that guarding and everything. So blocking and trying to stop and trying to do is not a failure, because the women is also trying to protect. They are also in this protective mode. So again, in the giving mode, in the giving mode,
Hmm.
no, they have to also receive. And
Yes.
this protection that they are trying to do with themselves, and also trying to receive that support from others, family and friends. That's why I'm saying they're all very, very important. That protection, they must all the women must receive all that from a place of compassion, right? From the place of compassion, even though that pain, because it's very painful process. So obviously you'll be irritated. The yeah, medically the hormones are changing, and biologically the hormones are changing. That is one part, but actual discomfort is also there. There's so much of
Yes.
discomfort that they go through, and they try to go through it nicely and everything. And in that mode also they're giving and giving and giving, but receiving requires this openness without any defense. Allow it to flow, even if that fear is coming, even if the grief is coming, even that identity is happening of self-reliance and control and all. You need to allow everything to pass. So that there could be this belief also, when the pain is too much or discomfort is too much, because they don't know, they are experiencing for the first time. So they
Hmm.
don't know, then they may feel, maybe I'm not ready, maybe it won't happen because it's too uncomfortable, and I'm feeling very painful. So it's very understandable why they are trying to protect themselves in a way that blocking is more protecting for themselves. But they must start learning to receive slowly, and allow that to soften, allow it to ease. Once they keep doing it little by little, that is why meditation is important. That is why working on your emotional aspect is important. That is why working on the spiritual thing is important. As I said in the beginning, that this whole process is not just physical, it's much more than that. So they have to tap into all this and say, no, it is time for me to receive it, and I'm going to allow it. I'm not going to force anything. I'm going to be compassionate to myself, and I'm going to receive that support from everyone else. So like that, right? Slowly one has to work through that process with themselves.
For myself, I know that yin yoga was a big contributor to me being able to sit with discomfort and to breathe into discomfort and to soften. And what I could do on my mat, I could then take off my mat into the world, into other situations and circumstances
Mhm.
that were not uncomfortable. Because for me, as you know, when you first met me, I was the first one to run away from discomfort. I was very good at running away and
Yeah.
not sitting with anything that felt uncomfortable because I was
Right.
straight into fight or flight mode and I didn't want to and I didn't know how to either. And so for many
Mm-hmm.
of us, we're not taught these things. And so we
Right.
have to give ourselves grace and permission to learn how to do these things and how to help ourselves so that we can meet life and face challenges and obstacles as they arise instead of
Mm-hmm.
having them sort of take us down and hinder us for longer.
Mm-hmm.
I
Correct,
would love
correct.
to dive into how attachment to
Mm-hmm.
outcomes like pregnancy and aversion to pain create suffering because this is the duality of life. And until I met you, I didn't realize how I was always running towards pleasure and as far away from pain as possible.
Right, right, exactly. So when you're in this mind, the mind only has two things, right? The mind does only two things. One, it is running towards pleasure, and it is second is running away from pain. So in this process, it's a very ancient thing of understanding attachments, right, and aversions and everything. In yoga philosophy, we have this the sutra of kleshas, so the obstacles of the mind, and two of those obstacles, there are five different obstacles in that the mind is creating, and two of them is this attachment and aversion. So that is mind running towards pleasure is that attachment, and running away from that pain is that aversion that is happening. Yeah, so we have to observe this very much. For example, the attachment can say that I must have this kind of an outcome in my pregnancy in order for me to be peaceful, or in order for me to be happy or something. So attached to some kind of an idea, no, about pregnancy and other things. Or the aversion could be I cannot bear the pain of not having it this way, right? So they create a constant tension within us. This attachment and aversion constantly creates that tension. So we have to work through it, because mind gets trapped between the fear and hope, right, expectation and avoidance, right, and
Mhm.
that tension is felt in the body. Now often as the hypertension and or women, sometimes when the women are pregnant, they are hyper vigilant of things. Emotionally they're drained of energy, and so often there is this whole tightness within them. So the suffering is not just because of the people and situations or circumstances. It can also come from this inner resistance. So whenever there is this inner resistance to whatever is going on, it can also create that tension, and then that is how they go, either running away from pain or running towards pleasure. Things happen. So the whole process is a very sacred process, but when that longing becomes your own, of that attachment and that aversion, I want it this way, I don't want this way, I don't like this one, I like this one, that kind of a thing, when you get caught into that, and it is affecting your own peace, right, that the suffering deepens. It becomes even more. There'll be more tension. When there is more tension, then that will show in your own pregnancy, in your whole process. So one has to really understand that we should not be engaged in that attachment. We must not be engaged into that aversion. We should not be caught into that mind game at all, but we must flow with life, right, not having any kind of expectation, but saying I am doing my best, and I am working towards it, and I'm processing everything that the mind is giving me. It is giving me fear, I'm processing it. It's trying to make me feel up or disappointment, I'm processing it. So this process is also very, very important. That is the most important thing, because what you do to yourself, as I said in the before, is that what you are doing to yourself is very, very important. What you're thinking inside is very, very important. So it's not just what exactly you're doing externally, but what are you feeling internally. That is also we plays a huge role in this pregnancy process. So that is why they should not get stuck into this whole process, and they have to flow with this, not get caught into the attachment, nor get caught into that aversion, but constantly keep flowing, constantly keep working towards it.
And I
Yeah.
just want to clarify that that doesn't mean passivity and it doesn't mean giving up, because I think anyone who's listening may not necessarily know what this means or looks like for them, because they think, but I want a baby. How can I not be attached to that wanting and yearning for a baby, right?
Right.
It's a different kind of energy that you bring to it.
Not that you don't want to have, you should not that you're not having any those expectation. It's the inner tension, that constant inner tension is not necessary. You can set an intention and you can let it go. Once you
Hmm.
set an intention and then you leave it into the universe, then it will start unfolding. But what are you doing now is very important,
Hmm.
not what you want. You may want a wonderful pregnancy, you may want a wonderful this and wonderful that. So that is not how it is defined. It is, what are you doing now? Who are you now is very, very important. Is there a tension inside? And are you running with it, or are you just flowing with it and releasing it and letting it go? How are you exactly responding to the current situation? You may
Hmm.
have all the desires you want. There's nothing wrong with it. But what are you working on with yourself now is very, very important to pay attention to.
I
And that
think
is where
often
this,
there can be an attachment to, you know, what the doctor says is possible for you, for numbers that the doctors say, of
correct.
levels or whatever it may be, and then you embody that and you take that away to mean you only have this much percent chance,
Mm,
or you take everything that is said to you
correct.
as
Correct.
gold and the word,
And you believe it. And you
and
believe
you
it.
believe it.
Correct. Correct. No, no, that is not how it works. No, you have to just move beyond all that slowly, slowly.
Wonderful. How do you think we can best stay grounded throughout this process? Because I feel like for a lot of women, it's an emotional roller coaster. There's so many overwhelming thoughts that are just endless, and scenarios that they're playing out in their minds and in their heads. So how is the best way to move through this process in a way that really keeps them grounded and anchored and centered in who they are, so they don't get lost in this process or
Yeah,
disconnected from themselves?
right. Yeah, for them to slowly flow with that and ground themselves. Um, the first thing is they have to understand the resistance within themselves, and they have to work towards not having that resistance and releasing that resistance and stop resisting. That's very, very important, because who you are in that moment is the most important things. So for that is one thing they can do, is stop resisting. Then in a nice, in a simple and a profound way, they can actually focus on their breathing, softening the breath, right, relaxing the body as much as they can, doing some stretches and trying to do that, right. Then once you and the flow, allowing things to just flow without any resistance, then the decisions that they make become much more clear. And
Yes.
this emotional waves that keep coming, because emotions play a huge role, we know that. And when emotions are playing, understanding that these emotions are not permanent, these emotions are temporary. They come for some times, they peak, again they go down, again they will come. The emotions are like waves. So you need to allow yourself to ride through those emotions like that. When they are high, go like that. When it is going down, flow with it. Again they'll come up, there you go, like that. So ride those waves nicely and smoothly, without trying to control, without trying to push it. right? No, without resisting, without fighting, right? So not necessarily participating in it, but flowing with it, flowing without attaching, without pushing them away. All these things must will help them in that grounding process.
I I believe and know for myself that I definitely resisted any emotions previously that I deemed negative, and therefore I prolonged them and I kept
Mm,
them in my energetic body. And I didn't realize that had I just been able to sit with them and be with them, that I would have processed them and I wouldn't have carried them on for weeks, months, years, decades. And so it is really important to know that no emotion
correct.
is wrong, quote unquote,
Correct.
and
Exactly.
to just allow yourself to feel whatever is showing up for you at any given time.
Correct. And when you're feeling them, be compassionate to yourself. Be
Hmm.
practical, be compassionate to yourself, be kind to yourself, right? And that is very, very important because during that time, again, they're constantly overthinking, and the mind will say, "Oh my God, you're having this negative thoughts. Oh, you cannot have this negative thought. Oh my God, how are you? Why are you doing it?" So this shift is not going to happen overnight, right? It happens gently, consistently, right? And you have to consistently come back to it and keep working on it. Like, for example, simple breathing exercises will help, slowing down, mindful exercises, practices, right? Body grounding and relaxing your body is very important. So, awareness is so important. Emotionally, one has to be authentic. One has to be authenticity means being honest with yourself about yourself. Allow, so let us say there is a grief coming, there's a fear coming, there's a frustration coming. You need to allow yourself to feel them without judgment, without any suppression, without any kind of resistance. You need to allow yourself to feel, but don't attach to it. Allow them to flow away. So these are the practices one has to do it. Again, little by little, allowing that control patterns also to release, reconnecting with the body with more stillness. So those are the things one has to keep practicing. Then so then they will be moving forward. They will has this intention. Also they set right, and yeah, they align themselves. They're in full alignment with everything else. Then medical, therapeutic, spiritual, all these things, all the supports will work properly. They will all flow nicely, right? And there is so much of support also, and take all that support, medical support, therapeutic support, spiritual support, right? And one has to integrate. It's an integrated support one has to receive, not just one. And as they say, there is a saying that it takes a village to give birth and raise a child, because the whole village support is there. Now that support starts from the time of conception, not only
Hmm.
just only when they're pregnant. At the time of conception, the support starts, and it goes throughout. And then even after the child is born, the support continues. The whole village actually supports the for the growth of the child as well. So it is a process that one has to work through systematically. Then she will see that the whole universe is behind her. Now
Hmm.
that is a strength. That is an amazing strength and a feeling to hold for
I
yourself
know for
during that
myself,
time.
I when I first met you, I felt like a lone wolf and was very resistant to support, resistant to being honest and open and vulnerable
Mm,
and not realizing that is really, the path to healing is being able to do those things for yourself and
correct.
to realize that it's not a weakness, but it is actually your strength. And so
Correct.
I think that women who see themselves as emotional or sensitive, which definitely these feelings can be heightened when you're struggling to conceive, then there's resistance to ask for support or to be vulnerable because you already are in such a sacred place. And so it also comes back to safety. You need to feel
Mm,
safe in order to do so.
correct, correct. That's why receiving is so important.
Mhm. So before we close here today, I'd love to open up the space about timing, alignment, and the role of Vedic astrology in conception. So how can Vedic astrology support a woman in understanding her fertility journey?
Um, Vedic astrology offers kind of a blueprint, like a map, right? Like a spiritual map. It is not replacing any medical testing or any kind of treatment or anything like that. It complements by helping the women to understand deeper patterns. And also another very, very important thing is the time period. The time period when they are actually, what is going on in that during that time period, and different areas where they may need some kind of a healing, some kind of a processing, right? That is very, very important because in astrology, fertility is often examined through the fifth house of progeny and creativity, and we see also the different houses like the seventh house and eighth house and 12th house. So we'll see different things where any chronic or any kind of an obstacles are hidden obstacles are there, if they appear, all those things. And we also see different planets because in astrology, there are four different subsystems, right? One is the signs, one is the houses we see, one is the planets, and then the fourth is the time periods. So, in the planets, also, we see Jupiter and Venus and Mars, which are very important and if there are any nodal afflictions, we see those kind of a thing. Yeah, so those are the things we study from that astrological lens. The one gets deep clarity into that whole fertility journey itself, and identify the supportive periods, and if there are any remedies or interventions that we need to take. So yeah, it will offer very good meaning and timing and context to that pregnancy process.
Beautiful.
So yeah.
And you can also give that clarity of whether someone is being delayed or whether they are being denied, correct?
Correct. Well, yeah, exactly. So sometimes just because there is the pregnancy is not happening or whatever it is, if there is a delay, it doesn't mean that it is denied. No, at all. So then what can we do during that process? So that is something one has to we look into systematically, and then the person will get deeper clarity. They say, what is my soul learning here, right? What is the soul come here to learn onto this planet? What energies are stronger and what energies are weaker for me, and how do I need to strengthen those energies, right? What karmic patterns and themes are maybe surfacing in my life, right? So those kind of things, we can see all those. When is the right timing for a supportive conception and or healing or intervention? So we look at various things, and we study all these houses and planets and understand where they are positioned. And then, as I said, most importantly, the timing through the periods and sub periods, which is very important. And so we discuss all that. Using astrology and identifying those supportive things and remedies and everything. Yeah.
I think for anyone, because the biggest question women have is wanting clarity of, am I going to be a mother ever? And this is what keeps them up at night. And so Madhu Sai and I would love to offer that we are doing a sacred conception alignment. And this is a pathway for women to receive deeper insight, guidance, and alignment in their journey so that you know cosmically, energetically, spiritually, emotionally,
Yeah.
mentally, what is going to work best for you, and then you can have a plan from there. And so, if you are interested, then we invite you to get in touch with either of us. All of our details will be below this podcast, and it really will serve you and create a positive ripple effect for your fertility journey and your life journey to have that clarity of who you are, where you are, and what serves you best in this moment.
Yeah, it's a path for deeper listening for themselves. So fertility is approached from not just through the body and physical thing, but energetically, emotionally. It is approached through this whole the sacred conception alignment process. So yeah, women can receive insights into their own energetic patterns and yeah, and what they need to heal and everything, so that clarity will give them even more strength, and the Vedic astrological support gives even better understanding of their readiness and deeper meaning, right, into that journey. So, yeah, it's not about pressure, but about no promising outcomes that they can understand and learn more.
Beautiful. So, my last question for you today is if a woman listening feels like her body is failing her, what would you want her to know, Madisai?
The main thing I wanted to know when that is failing, that it's not actually failing. That is, yeah, it is actually not failing. That the body is giving a message to her in some form. It's saying that it's not just your body. There is other things that you need to take care, because there is much more to pregnancy than just the body. So that one has to listen. One has to listen. The body is so intelligent. It is always telling us what to do. It's only for us a matter of listening. And that is where we are trying to support and help the women who are in this process, is how to listen to that body, what to listen, and what kind of deeper truths that you need to really understand for yourself in that process. Yeah. So it's not that body is always failing. It's not that everything God is denying them or something like that. It's maybe
Mhm,
some delays there, but one has to get to the root of it and work through it. Yeah, yeah. They have
mhm.
listened to it and they have to reach out.
Lovely. Thank you so much. It has been my greatest pleasure to have you here today. Thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in and listening. We invite you to reach out if you feel called and subscribe so you can hear more of this ancient wisdom. The light in me honors the light in all of you. Namaste.
Namaste, Ashley, and take care.
Thank you.